you have to start with where a company is, that current state. What's their readiness? What's their appetite for change? What's their investment budget? What's their urgency and speed? Where's the value drivers going to come from?
Mike, thank you for joining us on this conversation with Center of Excellence for IoT and AI. I would like to ask you, we are seeing a range of supply chain disruptions triggered by COVID-19, geographical tensions, and lots of them, and including restricted site access, limited resources, port congestions, change in customer demands, and buying patterns. Now, more than ever before, companies need greater agility and resilience in supply chain. In your conversations with supply chain leaders at different organizations, what are you picking up on the top 3 priorities around investments in digital technologies?
Thanks. It's a challenging backdrop that you just described, and it is the last few years the bar is higher than ever, and it's moving up for supply chain companies and supply chain leaders. And it's a great time to be in supply chain because we can make a real difference. And it's not just a difference for our clients and the industries we serve, but for the world in a lot of cases. When we get a chance to work with pharma companies or high-tech companies, the products they produce, obviously food and beverage, are important for the world and the demands of the world. And the things that we're seeing now are unprecedented in terms of disruptions and challenges. And so when we talk about what we do with clients, but when we work with clients, there is a lot to handle the day-to-day, the operational efficiency, but they also need to plan for tomorrow and get there as quickly as possible. So that future state. So it comes down to a set of priorities as you described. What are the top 3? So thinking in that light, you would start with visibility. We did a voice of the customer research project about 3 years ago before COVID started. And the number one challenge that the executives called out was visibility. And if we did that study 10, 20 years ago, I'm sure number one then would be visibility as well. But it's interesting that what's different is today, the visibility challenge is even higher because of the globalization of supply chains. And the impact of one thing in one part of the world can translate to issues around the world and across industries. So when you see a ship get stuck in the Suez Canal for days, it impacted a lot of industries. When you see the port on the west coast of the United States, in Los Angeles, see ships, hundreds of ships waiting out at sea for spots to come in, it impacts all of supply chains, not just in the US, but those containers don't get to where they need to be once they're emptied or moving product in the other direction. So there's a lot of ripple effect that happens. So the challenges of visibility is higher than ever. The need for visibility is higher than ever as well. And so getting that data, getting those insights, and going from suppliers to customers, the breadth and the width of visibility is more challenging and more important than ever. So that's where you would start. And that's a North Star. You never get to complete visibility because things are always changing, but it's a North Star that every company is progressing to at one speed or another. And the value of the visibility then translates into what you're calling out is the AI and ML and IoT and all the advancements of science and technology. Those advancements require data and information to be able to deliver the best results and the best most value to the users and to the companies that are investing in building that technology. So bringing that visibility not only to the users, but to that advanced science is really, really important. And it'll fuel more science, more learning, more advancement. So they go hand in hand, very complementary investments, and they're often done in concert. But just like visibility, the AI and ML, we're in the early stage of that North Star journey where companies are investing more and more in science and getting more value from that. So that's an exciting time to be in the field of analytics for supply chain because of all the really cool things that are being built and deployed to make real advantages. But it doesn't stop there. Having complete visibility and all the science that's being built, there's ultimately a human element that's going to be involved. And then sometimes, looking at a Gartner report, the people in the processes that we design and implement can be in the loop where they're making decisions, whether it's with or without technology, the help of technology. They're in the loop of the process to make and execute decisions. They can be on the loop, so they're monitoring things, and then they're able to intervene when and where necessary, or the out of the loop, and things are automated. And that's happening more and more, self-driving cars and self-driving supply chains. But at the end of the day, that future state that companies are trying to get to, a big part of that is going to be having the right skill and talent around the world to be able to plan and manage their supply chain. So if you can leverage the digital twin, the analytics, driving that operational efficiency, the resiliency, the speed to respond, the performance of the supply chain, people are going to be in that mix. And so that's a great place for us to help companies as well look at this in a different light. And COVID actually kind of changed how companies think about this a little bit, in that, before a couple of years ago, the idea was people had to come to the office. These jobs were in the plants or in the offices. Well, COVID kind of changed that mindset, and it showed the world that, some of these jobs can be done from anywhere in the world, which is exciting because now it really opens the door to a world of possibilities for talent that's being created, and people that are taking on careers and education and investments, because now there's a greater chance of and opportunities and career paths for supply chain talent and interest that people might have. So that's what I would call out as the third priority. It's not necessarily technology or data related, but it certainly is a big factor to get the most out of those investments with technology and data.
Yeah, I'm sure. Very well said. How is Genpact helping your clients in navigating and speeding up the journey around these?
Well, it's really in those three areas, but most of our relationships with clients start with an assessment or a blueprint. There's a lot of names that you might start, but it's that future state design work. And it start, that you always have to, when you look at a map, when you're going somewhere, the first thing I do is look for that "you are here" arrow. Current state, rather, as best as possible, is part of that design work. So, and then where's the value going to come from as far as what technology interventions, what's the data work that's going to be required, what upskilling or talent options that companies can explore and implement in order to get to that the goal and the vision that's being defined. So that's going to be an ongoing effort, but is a first phase project for us, if you will, for almost every client that we have, is in that alignment of the vision and the roadmap to get there. And sometimes those assessment projects can be, just a few workshops where we're really aimed at something specific, like a technology architecture. And then what are the requirements of that architecture? That might then translate into an RFP or design specifications or something around that's anchored around technology, where the rest of that journey might be, in state or not really on the table for investment. So it really depends on what a company's trying to do. And we shape those assessment projects according to the questions that they're trying to answer, the time they have to answer them, and the budget as well. But the output of those engagements then translate into a transformation journey that can, have a different form factors. And on that journey, we're implementing new skills, new technology, and then change along the way to be able to get the most of that, whether it's process change, user adoption, or technology upskilling. And the interesting thing is, on that journey, as Genpact, the DNA and the background of Genpact is coming out of GE with Lean Six Sigma and managed services across a number of functions. That is in our fabric. So we combine the transformation, the deep domain knowledge, the technology and skills with that ability to also become an operating partner for our clients. That gives us options on that transformation journey to leverage one of our 70+ operating centers, where we have the talent, the skills, the tools, the processes already there for clients to leverage. It might be just a few roles, or it might be a complete responsibility with performance expectations and commitments. Those are the things that we can then add to that. And as you asked in that first question, what are the top three? That third one I talked about was the talent. And there's a global shortage of talent. So anyone interested in investing in a career in supply chain has great opportunities now, probably better than ever. And so we bring those global operating centers to the conversation so our clients can leverage that as shortcuts and options to be able to get to the vision that they have to have a better running supply chain, more resiliency, greater operational efficiency, and just a better set of results for their company and their customers and their suppliers.
So nicely put. Thank you, Mike, for joining us. Thanks a lot. Pleasure is ours.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.